because they don't want to deal with it. So we brought a lot of that furniture here, and we did a yard, kind of a garage sale, and all the money went towards some of the local elementary schools. And so we just tried different things and hoping to just engage with the local neighborhood. You guys kind of did a tour around the neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that's in transition, where a lot of what used to be is changing. And so there's a mix of white hipsters with the old African American and Hispanic communities.
Asian hipsters.
And Asian hipsters, you know. So it's just a mix of that, and we're just trying to be a part of the fabric of the neighborhood. So we engage. You can see there's an installation right now going on with some art, and hoping just to engage with different things. Most recently, South by Southwest. You guys probably heard of that music festival was happening, and so we were able to just host some shows here, and through that we've just been really gaining some momentum and hoping to just engage with different things going on. David Bazan kind of been part of it, and part of the installation that you're seeing now is one of an artist that we knew. She did a one-woman show about Muntu, which is I always forget the African word for both tree and person. So she kind of told the story of trees in East Austin, at the same time reflecting the stories of East Austin as people. So we kind of, in that whole conversation, we also brought in the city council and had a candidate forum, because elections are coming up, to just kind of hear their stance and what they want to do and how they're going to benefit and address the concerns and needs of East Austin. So.
That's great. That's great. So let's give him a round of applause, Sam. That's good. We could probably just do some Q&A. Maybe let's show the video clip, and then we'll do just some quick Q&A, and then we got something really exciting we can do all together as kind of an extension of kind of what we shared about. So let's roll a video clip first. Let's not roll a video clip.
It's not right. Alright. The video clip is, we had Neighborhood Association, it was a nationwide national night out where community neighborhoods come out and just kind of enjoy a time together to be able to
a scene very different from what was here a little more than a year ago. People of different races, different backgrounds talk friendly about family, neighborhood. What was once the center of controversy, Chester's nightclub, now it's called the Space 12 Community Center, a stronghold for community growth.
It's amazing how it's all come together. It's amazing to look back to where we were a year ago, reconstructing a nightclub, if you will.
We don't have the blaring loud music, you know, all hours of the night, you know, debris, litter dispersed along this corridor here. You know, it's just a totally different environment.
This was what the place looked like June of last year, a scene of chaos when Austin police shot Kevin Brown. Before that, neighbors complained of the loud noise, drunken behavior, crime. But now on National Night Out, the neighborhood showcases its new community center, but the remembrances of the past are hard to overcome.
I was thinking about how it was with Chester's here. And then I had this eerie feeling like, what am I going to see when I walk in? And I was quite surprised.
This is something that can easily be overcome with the education they're putting out, the tools, the information. And I think it's very valuable.
Bob Roebuck, News 8 Austin.
There's a Coke. Cool. So let's open up for maybe 2-3 minutes for some questions, answers. Any questions?
Yeah, so you're saying the neighborhood's in transition right now. So is there some gentrification going on? At what rate is it happening? I'm just curious.
What rate?
I don't think I have any data behind it, but
Give Jerry a
We don't
year.
need
He'll
a
come
year.
back.
But I would say just based on just if you're able to see data, just property tax values have risen about 200–300% in the last 3–4 years. And so what we're seeing is a lot of the low-income families are having to force to move out because they can't afford property tax. A lot of the houses, so I'm not sure if most of you heard the history of East Austin. 1928, Austin followed the suit of all the other southern states and segregated. It was an integrated city, and they segregated and put all minorities, especially African American community, all on the east side of Austin. So if you're driving on I-35, that used to be just a main road called East Avenue, and they basically allocated all the minorities onto this side. So a lot of the houses, if you drive around, there's still a lot of houses that are built in the 40s and 50s, and those are kind of the stronghold of these African American Hispanic communities. But at the same time, you're going to see like a house that's probably built in the 50s, and then right next to it there's a mansion of like, 4-bedroom, 2,000 square feet house. Because of that house, their property tax values causes this house to rise. And so that's kind of what's been happening. But people that have been moving in are usually like single or young couples that do not have kids. So what happens with that is the schools are losing kids. And because they're losing kids, they're losing funding. And because they're losing funding, they're losing teachers and principals, and just the leadership is just continuing in transition. So yeah, those are some of the effects of gentrification here.
It's good, Sam. Good. Mr. Stanley.
How did you guys I mean, your leadership team started moving into the neighborhood more than just kind of having the community center here? Can you share with us how did that process go? Was it just kind of Gideon kind of woke up, say, let's move there? Or how did you all come to that conclusion and make that huge decision to commit your lives into this neighborhood?
I came a little later, but I think the Holy Spirit moving. I think that's the only thing I could really explain, because I think maybe you could explain that part of it.
I was gonna leave him out there hanging. For us, we had just planted a church. We were doing some ministry in the area. We were wrestling with what is the church. So we would pray through it. We would be in scripture, and it was just that idea: what should the church be? Through those conversations and the time of prayer, my wife and I felt a personal tug. We didn't feel like everyone needed to do it. We didn't even know where the tug came from, but we felt a personal tug that we should move. If it were just my wife and myself, we would have moved easily. The thing we couldn't get over was education for our kids. So for a year, we didn't do anything. My wife and I would talk about it, and we'd come to education, and then we'd just stop. It came a point where one Sunday afternoon, Karen and myself said, well, we've talked long enough. Let's just move forward, and we'll say, if God, you're not in this, close the doors. And when we took that first step, doors just started opening. We found out, one, there was an attorney at that time who was a part of our community. He's since moved on. But he was always very antagonistic to a lot of these ideals we would talk about. What should the church be? There's this disconnect from the New Testament church and the American church. What can we do? And he would always be like, well, you guys are really idealistic, and he'd be very resistant. That Monday, after my wife and I made the decision, he calls me. He's like, hey, Gideon, let's grab lunch. And I thought, great, we'll grab another lunch. He can share more of his concerns with me. So we met up for lunch, and out of the blue, he just said, hey, we've heard some rumblings of you wanting to move. If you're serious about this, I'm willing to buy 2 homes, and people in Box can live in them. And for me, it wasn't just that he said that, but it was the background from where because he was always so antagonistic. And then from that point on, we started finding other people in the community who said, hey, we've been praying about this too. And so over maybe 5 to 6 months, without any centralized overall overarching vision, people started selling their homes and then moving, and then we probably have about 10 to 15 homes within a mile radius of each other right now. So the quick answer is, I don't know how it happened. I really don't.
Wasn't an organized vision casting effort.
Yeah, it wasn't. I thought about it, but I felt like I shouldn't because one, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And then my thought was, well, if I'm leading the community, let me grab a machete and then let's see what's out there and we'll go from there.
I'm not a plant, but I do have this question. In terms of the conversations that you have with the outside community, not your internal community, what kind of conversations do you have in terms of the gospel? How do you contextualize that for the outside community, not your church community? And what kind of conversations do you have with those people in bringing the gospel to them instead of just saying we're a community center and we are a church? Or do you not have that?
I think I could share. It's hard to explain sometimes because of the context of where we're at. I think when we started Vox in the last 3 years, we've really been intentional of wanting to listen and wanting to love the city and understand the culture of the city. And if you've been in East Austin and knowing the history of churches, it's really hard to engage a community and say, here, we're a church, we're another church. East Austin has the most churches per capita in all of Texas. You could drive down and every 3 blocks you'll see a church. But most of them are abandoned, or most of their church members do not even live in the neighborhood. So you just have all these churches and they have done nothing for this community. So if we come in and say, hey, we're a church again and we're here to love you, it's actually causes more backlash. Just up the street on 12th, if you go to 12th and Chacon, there's another community center, again, well-intentioned, bunch of, I could say that here, white folks just said, hey, we're here to do a lot of good for the community. They're a community center, and on their sign they say, we care. Right after they said that, the whole neighborhood, like all the African American leaders just came in and just like bashed them. It's like, you're saying we care. Well, you're saying that we don't care about our own neighborhood. So there's a lot of like, if you say love, gospel, I think it has to be contextualized in a way. And we've been trying to take a very slow pace of just trying to listen and just really understand how we can be a part of the fabric of this neighborhood.
I would add, because of the context with, we're in Texas is 1, we're in Austin is 2, and the east side, that many churches, people kind of get the basic gospel message traditionally. So it's just like, they think they're like, point A to B for them is the gospel. You know, accept, I'm going to heaven. I think the test for us moving in has been 2 things. One is, they want to see that action that goes along with the gospel. So that part, I think, is just day to day, we're still going through that. And then to add another part of it too, a lot of times when they ask us, and we did a tour yesterday with some folks from Atlanta, they asked me and Gid in 3, 4 different ways. So why East Austin? Why are you here? You know, another roundabout way, why are you here? And that part's basically is like, why are you as an Asian here in East Austin? And so for us, I mean, even with church folks, we just go right back. I mean, it's not just explaining the gospel to people in the neighborhood, just like back to church folks is like, well, it's actually, ironically, the gospel. So I'll just put that in there and then get to close up.
And I would say in East Austin, there's the full spectrum of openness and availability to communicating the gospel. So the existing community here is actually very open to spiritual conversations. So the Latino Black community, you can open up and have a spiritual conversation easily. And then some of the ones who've actually started coming to Vox are more the existing community. So we have a guy, he actually started following Christ, but kind of, you know, fell back in his old life, was in prison, and then he actually just came back out, and then he joined Sam on his mission trip last weekend. His grandmother was looking for him. She was worried that he was back with his kind of drug friends, but he was actually in Galveston rebuilding with Sam. So with the existing community, it's been a little bit easier. With the newer community of artists, the hipster community, for me to tell them that I'm a pastor is the equivalent of me telling them I'm a pedophile. And a lot of them were very resistant to even step in here because there were some news pieces in the newspaper, on TV, that we were a church. And so when we hosted during East Austin Studio Tours, a lot of them had refused to come in, but they kind of wandered in suspiciously, and they're like, okay, you guys aren't too weird. And so with them, we feel like we have to be a lot more subversive, a lot slower. We're starting to build friendships with some of them because they come and use the computers. There's a girl named Anna who comes often. For open albums, she volunteered and brought some juice. Yesterday, we actually, when we were finished lunch at El Cholito, we actually ran into her down there. And so there's this slow kind of building of respect to hopefully have conversations about Christ.
Any more questions? John?
One of the greatest challenges is mixing different socioeconomic classes of people together. How have you guys been able to kind of think through that, or what is your, I don't know, what's your experience with that?
With the community center, or with?
I guess moving in and mingling with the community here and being of maybe different backgrounds and socioeconomic class, and what kind of challenges have you faced?
I'll take one stab at it and then we can go. I think I'll start with this. I'm a deal man. I like deals. So the deals are legendary. So for me, to have to pay someone to do anything for me hurts. So for example, I made the wrong decision and I bought grass. And being new to Austin, I put grass in my lawn. So I have a choice. I could go find the cheapest lawnmower possible on Craigslist and cut it myself. And I'm thinking like saving dollars. Or I could hire the guy who bangs my door 10 o'clock at night and just trust that he's going to cut my lawn properly. He charges me way more than I need to pay, but like I pay $20 to get it cut, and I have a small yard. And I just got to trust that it's going to be okay, especially because he's coming 10 o'clock at night, right? Who cuts their lawn 10 o'clock at night? I do, or someone does it for me. And things like that, I think it's like I'm not here just trying to get a deal, pay the guy $5, or I can just do it myself. But things like that, like that $20, could go towards something bad, or I could build a relationship with him and start helping him. And we've done that. We started working on how he can spend it, how he can actually save it, how he gives that money to his mom and not to whatever addictions he has, things like that. So I think that's one thing I've worked up with the guy just down the street.
I think perception-wise, like as we're sharing this and you guys see the space, like, oh, amazing things are happening. But I think from a day-to-day, week-to-week, it feels really hard because we feel like nothing's happening. It's hard to bring any socioeconomic bring any people in here like on a consistent basis. Because if let's say we start a coffee shop, well, instantly, we're going to bring a different demographic in here. Instantly, we cause a barrier for lower income people to come in here and feel like, well, and then there's racial, and then so it's just like every little thing feels like there's barriers, there's complications, and so it's been a slow go, and we're just trying different things. You saw the pictures of barbecue. We had a huge African American community come out. Then we did, East Austin Studio Tour. We did art, and then we got basically all white people come in. So it's been a mix of both, and we want to kind of engage both. And so it's been a slow go, but we're hoping to develop some different programs to be able to have a mixture of the two. But yeah.
No, I think the next part's cool.
Yeah. All right, thanks guys.
Okay. So I think for the remainder of our time.